Hi guys, Samantha from JessamaTutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create a faux dichroic pendant. So that's the finished product. So what you're going to want is you're going to want a piece of black rolled out on the thickest setting of your pasta machine. And now bear in mind that I am using Premo today. Then you want a piece of Premo denim that is about half the thickness of your black. Okay, and I'm just going to put that on. And I'm just going to flip this over and I am going to trim it. And now the thickness really doesn't matter here, you can go with whatever thickness you want, but I find that the thicker pendants, they just feel nicer in my hand when I'm trying to create a faux dichroic effect. Now, before you move on, make sure that you separate these, because if you do it quickly, you should be able to separate the denim from the black for the most part. That way you will end up with less waste clay, which is always a nice thing. Okay, then I'm going to bring over a plain piece of printing paper, lay this on the top, and I'll bring over another one, and I'm just going to give it a quick burnish just so that it's well stuck down onto the paper and so that both sides have a nice finish to them. Now we're ready to move on to the next step. Your next step requires you to have a few colours. Now keep in mind you can use any colours you want for this project, so you can swap out this denim colour for anything you want, but I'm going to be going with Premo Orange, Premo Pomegranate, Pearl White, and a 3-part denim to 1-part black colour mix. So we're going to start with the pearl white, which is going to be the centre of our piece. I'm going to move that away. Just very quickly rub that down onto a tile so that it sticks. And I want a decent size round. I might cut out another one to see which one I like the best. I think I'm going to go with this one. Then bring this, place that roughly in the centre. Now bear in mind that this project is going to look a lot worse before it looks better, so just keep that in mind. Then I'm going to bring over the orange. Now these are about the second thinnest setting on my pasta machine. The thinner you can make these sheets, the better. Okay. Then I want you to cut out 4 petals of varying sizes from the orange. Some thicker, some thinner, some smaller, some larger. So you can see there that I am varying it. Okay, and notice how organic the shapes are. We don't have to worry about them looking perfect. That's not the name of the game here. Just bring this over, and then I want you to move the petals onto here. Don't place them on just yet, we want to cut out our other colours first. I want you to cut out 3 reds and 3 blues. Okay, there we go. Then I'll just use something like a ball tool to place these into the correct spots. And I'm just going to move that around. It wasn't supposed to drop, but that's fine. Place that down. Then I want a large orange one. It's alright if you put dings in them, because we're going to be burnishing them down in a little while. And don't press them down too hard, because at this point you want to be able to remove them if you need to. So just bear that in mind. And you can see how working on a piece of paper is really nice because you can move things around. And almost done. Okay, so I want to take this one, take that off, just reposition it there. Okay, and don't worry about this gap, we'll fill that in a minute or two. You can see here that we're going to want to put a we're going to want to put a little carving over there. Okay, now you want to take a piece of printing paper and you want to burnish this down thoroughly. You want it to be completely flat. You don't want to have any bumps. And if the petals distort a little, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that it is completely flat. And the softer the clay is, the easier this is to do. Okay, and we're almost done. So you can see that happens pretty quickly if you've got soft clay. And there we go. And so you should be able to see there, it's completely flat. Okay, so now comes the carving section. So in this part over here, I want a little carving. So I'm going to do the stem first. I'm going to carve out from that. Okay. And if you're unhappy with it, you can always just burnish it again. Okay. Then I'll bring over my ball tool. Put a dot at the top of each of these. There we go. Then in here, we're going to try to make kind of like a little doodly effect. So just bring your piercing tool over. And it's not supposed to be round or perfect or anything like that. Yeah, then I'll do another one. And I'll smooth it out in a minute once I have what's in the rough sketch in. Okay, and I'm going to leave the center because we want to put in little dots. Then I'm going to bring in the ball tool and I'm just going to smooth this out by running that around. Like so. Repeat on the inside section. Okay. Then we want to do some little dots on the inside. Like so. Then on the petals, I want to do some dots on some of them. Like so. And then we're going to cut out our pendants. You can either use a cutter or you can do this by hand. Generally I will do it by hand. Okay, there we go. Now right now it looks really amateur, we'll call it, but it's going to look really nice once we start embellishing it later on. So you can see here how we've got a bunch of layers of different things going on. So I'm going to bring over my cutter. I'm going to start over here. And again, it's freestyle, so you can do it however you want. Generally, I would recommend going large at first and then cutting down from there to make it the shape that you would like. Okay, so let's see, how are we going to wear this? So I think it's probably going to be worn something like that. So I'm just busy making sure that I'm happy with how it looks before I bake it. So what I'm doing is I'm just busy rounding off these sections because I feel like they need to be rounded a bit. Okay, and the last bit is I'm going to go in with my blade and I'm very gently going to touch these corners to round them off. Okay, then don't take that off the piece of paper. That can go into the oven straight away. Bake that for about 40 minutes at Premo's recommended temperature. After that we are going to antique it, colour in these, what do you call them, the imprinted parts, and then after that I'm going to show you how to get this kind of metal effect. I'm pretty sure it will surprise you. Okay. Once it's out of the oven, just peel it off that piece of paper and you can see there how it has a lovely matte back. Okay, and we're going to attend to the sanding later on once we have finished antiquing this. So I'm going to start with the black. You're going to use some black acrylic paint. There we go. I'm just going to grab a very thin brush here. It doesn't matter if you mess along the sides, that's fine. Just don't get it into any of these ball tool marks because we want to paint that gold. Okay, and just continue colouring this black, and then when we're done I'll show you how to colour the other marks. Okay, there we go. I'm just quickly going to get rid of that black and then we're going to put some gold paint down, give it a shake, and we're using acrylic paint again. Just give me a moment, that was giving me trouble. Put that down. Okay, and I always like to use the ball tool that I actually use to create these little dots. I find that generally it works pretty well. If you don't want to do that, you can also use a piercing pin to colour the inside areas. Either one will work. Sometimes the piercing pin is the best one to go with because then you don't end up with bubbles, the little trapped air bubbles, which is something that you don't really want. Okay. And then once you finish colouring in these little, or painting in these little dots, you will do the exact same for these ones over here and for this bit over here. And because these don't have any black around them, you can very easily just use a brush to colour these ones over. Just make sure to avoid any trapped air bubbles, like so. Okay, and you'll do the exact same with the others. Okay, now we're going to move on to sanding. I apologise for the colour, but this is to prevent my tile and everything getting wet. Generally I would sand by the sink. So you want to wait till your paint is completely dry before doing this. And then you're going to go in and you want to just sand away until you get rid of all that excess paint off. And then you're going to go from a 400, which is the one that I am using right now, and you're going to go all the way up to a 2200. So it's 400, 600, 800, and then the 2200. And then after that, we are going to move on to applying that metal coating, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so the next step is going to require some translucent liquid clay. I'm going to be using Sculpey liquid clay because it's thick, but you can use Kato as well. And then you're going to need some gold leaf from my Etsy shop. I'll provide a link to it. I've tried other metal leaves and none of them leave as good an effect as this metal leaf. Basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to take this liquid clay and we're just going to paint it around the border of each of these little petals, and then we're going to put the metal leaf on and you're going to use a heat gun to cure it. Now other metal leaves tend to do is they will only stick to the liquid clay, which works well, but it's not going to be giving you this effect. This area around here is going to be the only part that actually has the metal leaf, instead of the entire area having this kind of splotchy effect. So if you're okay with it, then any metal leaf will work. However, if you want to get that really cool dichroic effect, then use this specific metal leaf. Any colour will work, but I am going to be using the gold today. So I'm just going to take this liquid clay and I'm just painting it around the border of the petal, and you'll repeat with the other ones as well. Okay, so I've painted around the edges of the leaves and I've also painted around the rim of this middle pot. So now we're going to take our gold leaf. Just try to get this out of here in one full piece. There we go. And you want to lay that down over the top, like so. Like so. There we go. And then just blow on it. Now the reason we're using a heat gun is for this to work, we need to heat set it to the clay, but we also want to have it, we need to blast it with air. So this, excuse me, is going to work the best if you have a heat gun. So I've got it on the hottest setting and I'm going to blast directly down onto it and watch what happens. Okay, I'll continue doing that, but you can see how the metal leaf is almost kind of, what do you call it, shrinking in on itself when it's hit by the heat. That is what we want. So I'm going to continue doing that until the liquid clay is cured. Okay, and there we go. And you can see how the leaf has shrunk in on itself. So now I'm just going to remove this out the way. And then we are going to start to remove some of the metal leaf on this. Okay, so to start, I'm just going to quickly peel away the leaf that's just kind of sitting on the edges here. You can generally just do that with your finger, just get rid of that. Okay. Alright, then I'm going to bring over that olive water that I have off to the side, and I'm going to also bring over a toothbrush. And now this should remove the paint from those indented areas. So you can see there, it should remove the metal leaf from the indented areas. So that's what it's going to do. But see how none of the other leaf is actually moving? And I'm pressing down pretty hard on this. And some of it may scrub off a little bit, but you can see in general it's not budging. So that's what we want. Okay, there we go. I'm going to rinse that off in the water. And then I'm going to bring over my 1200 grit because we want to sand away some of this. Now go slowly with this. Do it deliberately. A little bit at a time. Sanding away this leaf. And see how it's going silver along the edges there? So I just very slowly to make sure that I don't over sand it, because if you over sand it, that's it. You can't go back from there. But you can see there how we're very slowly revealing. And now I'll go along these edges quite vigorously, just along the very edges, to bring back some of that colour. And I'm also going to be fairly vigorous in the middle to bring back that pearl white. So it's completely up to you what areas you want to remove. Okay, but there you can see how that is starting to resemble what we have over here. I just need to keep sanding. Okay, and there we go. And you can see how much better it looks. Now, the last step is going to be to cover this with resin to give it a glass-like effect, since it is supposed to be dichroic. And the way we achieve that is I'm going to bring over a resin mat and Lisa Pavelka's Magic Gloss. You want a doming resin for this, something like the Chinese resin that I generally use. Let me bring that over. That's not really going to work that well. You want a nice doming resin, and that is going to give you the best result. So just going to spread that over. And you can see there how immediately it makes it look so much better. So yeah, you can see how that metal leaf has almost gilded it in a way. So you can try this out with different projects. I have tried it out with a raised texture, and I find that it doesn't work that well. You want a fairly flat texture to do this. Simply because the metal leaf actually kind of breaks apart on the texture if it is too raised. So just bear that in mind when doing this project. But yeah, you could use texture stamps instead of using the liquid clay, because it doesn't need the liquid clay to bond. The liquid clay is just more to create a raised texture more than anything else, to be honest. And so you can create defined areas in the pattern. That's really why I use the metal leaf. But you can experiment around with this. It's really quite fun and interesting to play around with. Play around with different colours. There's a bunch of different things that you can do. So I'm just dragging this resin to the edges, and once I'm done with that, I'm just going to make sure it doesn't pull away. If it does, I will add some more. Then that will go into the UV light for about 15 minutes to cure the resin. And when that is done, that will basically be it for the project. You will be able to stick on a stick-on bale wherever you want, and then you can string it however you want. Okay, and there we go. So this one's out of the UV light, and you can see there what a beautiful shine it has, and it's basically the exact same as this one. So now what you can do is you can grab any stick-on bale that you want and you can stick it on the back, or you can take an eye pin and you can drill it into the side of your piece. You could even attach a brooch back to it. There are lots of ways that you could use these pieces. So anyway, I do hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. This technique is really fun. I might be exploring it a little bit more in the future. Let me know in the comments below whether you'd be interested in me doing another tutorial on this. If I find another way to use it, you can tell me in the comments below. And as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.